If you want to save time and still get accurate results, then partner with 4 Pillars Research, proud sponsors of PI Perspectives. We specialize in uncovering insurance policies that can make or break your case. From identifying unknown policies to uncovering accurate policy information, we streamline the process so you can focus on your case. Partner with 4 Pillars Research and unlock the full potential of your investigations. Visit researchfpr.com to learn more.
Do you enjoy our podcast and the guests we bring you? Since 2019, Matt and his team have done their very best to give you amazing shows each week. If you feel like our show has helped you to be a better investigator, or maybe even inspired you to become an investigator, please let us know. We're looking for testimonials. Drop Matt an email with a recorded 20 to 30 seconds of you talking about this podcast. You can also email him something verbal about the website. His email is matthews@satellitepi.com. And if you really feel blessed for having this content, consider supporting Matt and our show by joining Investigators Toolbox. You really have to see version 2.0. And at just 49 cents a day, it's a no-brainer. Private investigators, are you spending hours digging through online data? There's a better way. Scope Now is your all-in-one OSINT platform, automating the collection and analysis of publicly available information, so you get results faster. Workbench helps you uncover key details on individuals and businesses. Link analysis connects the dots between entities, and pre-check flags potential risks in seconds. Plus, with Grid, you'll get real-time intelligence alerts, keeping you ahead of emerging threats. Stop the manual searching. Let Scope Now do the heavy lifting. Learn more at scopenow.com. Satellite Investigations has launched its new website full of great new content. Matt and his team have released some great informative blogs. Make sure you log in to LinkedIn and follow Satellite Investigations for the latest content. Welcome to the next episode of PI Perspectives. Today's a fun episode, and we highly recommend you watch the YouTube version for the facial cue context. Sound interesting? We're chatting with Bruce Jacobs today. Bruce is an expert in behavioral analysis. He teaches all over the country on how to spot deceptive patterns when interviewing a subject. This is a great episode, and it will have you thinking twice when you're interviewing someone or being interviewed yourself. Please welcome Bruce Jacobs and your host, New York Private Eye, Matt Spaier.
And welcome everyone to this week's episode of PI Perspectives. This is Matt Spaier, your host. Today we're going to have a really interesting show, something that's different, definitely talking about investigative technique and really spreading the horizons of how you perform interviews and what to look for when you're doing interviews. We've got Bruce Jacobs on the program here today. Bruce, I want to welcome you to the program. How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Behavioral Analysis and Security Consultants, LLC, that is your business. And you've gone around to different state associations teaching on this behavioral analysis. Let's lay the foundation here, a little bit of your background. Tell folks how you got into the business and what you do.
All right. So my name is Bruce Jacobs. I'm a retired police officer. I retired as a sergeant from the Manitowoc Police Department in Wisconsin. I'm not sure if anybody's heard of that before, but unfortunately, we were made famous by a Netflix series called Making a Murder with Stephen Avery.
Yeah.
So if you watch it, please don't believe what you see in there. That's not the way we do law enforcement. I actually worked for the city, and my brother was a detective for the sheriff's office. In fact, his voice is on there every week or every episode you hear in the beginning. Do you have a body? Do you have Stephen Avery in custody? That's actually my brother's voice.
Oh, wow.
So I spent 30 years as a police officer, retired as a sergeant. In that time, I spent a lot of time in the schools, 18 years actually as an SRO, a school resource officer. I was a DARE officer for 25 years, crime prevention sergeant for 9 years. And in those years, I did an estimated 10,000 interviews, which is a lot. But anybody working in the schools as a police officer knows that you are constantly communicating with people and investigating different cases. I've been involved in every type of case that you can think of: homicide, rape, sexual assault, battery, theft, disorderly conducts. So I did a lot of public outreach, a lot of training on crime prevention. So I retired as a crime prevention sergeant. So I'm trained in something called SEBTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. It's designing the crime out of a building, understanding how criminals think.
Right.
I'm certified in security survey, so I can come into buildings and do a security survey, basically telling them where their weak spots are. I've done presentations in mock robberies and safety, for women. You name it, I probably have done the presentation.
Wow.
I also owned a driving school in Manitowoc. It was called Advantage Driving School. I had 25 employees in 3 counties. So just a little round, information about my career.
You're multitasking, Bruce. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. So in the in the early 2000s, maybe 2001, 2002, I had went to a juvenile conference and I stumbled into a breakout session on micro expressions.
Hmm.
And I'd never heard of a micro expression. So I walked in and I got to tell you, it changed my life. I was so amazed at what I could tell by someone's brief fifth of a second expression across their face. It's true emotion. It's what they're really thinking. No matter what
Right.
comes out of their mouth, that micro expression is true emotion. And there's 7 universal facial expressions. We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
But that's how I kind of started into it. So I came back to the department. I told everybody about it, and I started studying it. Found out there's so much more than just micro expressions. There's
Sure.
5 channels of communication. So what happened was in 2005, unfortunately, October 31st, 2005, Stephen Avery happened. And why do criminals talk? I mean, it's illogical, right? Especially the PIs. We have to find ways to get them talking. And if we go
Yep.
and accuse people, they're probably not going to talk to us because they have nothing
Right.
to gain.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
some people do. So Stephen Avery's talking to the news cameras. And the lady goes, well, was Teresa Halbach, and that's the lady that he actually killed and raped and burnt her body in his fire pit on the property of their salvage yard. They all live in like it's called a compound, trailers. So he rapes her, he kills her, and then the reporter says, was Teresa Halbach out here? And he goes, yeah, she was out here, but I don't know if I'm a suspect. And the hair in the back of my neck stood up. I'd been
Right.
at a homicide investigation school, and they were talking to this guy. A news reporter was talking to this guy from California. He's in his 50s, and he's standing in his driveway, and a little 7-year-old girl was kidnapped at the house right next to him. And they said to him, "Do you know the little girl?" He goes, "Yeah." I don't know. He goes, "Yeah, she lives right there, but I don't know if I'm a suspect." And he laughs again. Now think about your human brain. Why would you say those words if you didn't think you were a suspect, right?
Right.
And he was the suspect that raped and killed this little 7-year-old girl, kidnapped her out of her room. And when Stephen Avery said that, I mean, that really piqued my attention. So I got
Awesome.
really close to the TV, and then the reporter says to him, he's just talking about why people think it's him, and the reporter says, "Well, Mr. Avery, there's crime scene tape around the fire pit." He goes, and his eye twitched 3 times. I looked at my then wife and I said, "That guy's guilty, and it's got something to do with that fire pit."
Right.
And that's actually where he burnt her body. So what happened was it's called a limbic brain response, LIMBIC. That was his limbic brain, which is your survival brain, your fight, flight, or freeze brain, reacting to that stimulus of fire pit. And
Wow.
that's the great thing about behavioral analysis. They don't have to say anything to you. All
Right.
you got to do is talk. They hear you and they will have reactions that they're not even aware of.
Wow.
So then I started studying it, and I've been all in since then. So I've been studying it about 24 years.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen things change, right? So, yeah, to me, it's curious now too with this move post COVID for everything going online, right? So
Yeah.
you have depositions online, you have, you know, um, that visual cue that's not in person. How have you seen that change in the last, I don't know, 5 years or so, where there's this shift now to more being done virtually as opposed to in person?
So I retired in 2018, and then a year and a half later, COVID happened. And I was doing in-person trainings, just ramping up my business, getting my name out there.
Right.
Then when COVID came, it shut everything down. And then I would say it's back in full swing now. Most of the conferences that I do are in person.
Yeah. So, there's definitely a difference, I think, though,
Yeah.
that
Oh,
when you're being in person as opposed to this back and forth video like we're doing. I think like
yeah.
socially engineering is done differently too. So when you do this behavioral analysis, are you the one conducting the interview, or are you like a third party that's kind of sitting in and looking for things?
So the training itself, I do mock interviews in the training after I've taught them, these 5 channels of communication, after we've talked about interviewing techniques and questions to ask. There's different types of interviewing techniques out there. Techniques that talk about, okay, at this point you say this, and at this point you say that. That's not behavioral analysis, right? Behavioral analysis is something that you use every day of your life. Every time you talk to someone, you can use it on your kids, your spouse, your coworkers. You're going to buy a new car, and just ask the salesperson, hey, is this my best deal? And they're going to tell you whether it's their best deal without even telling you that. Okay, it's just listening and watching what's happening with their body change, because it's emotion.
Yeah.
Now I have to stress, it's not deception, it's emotion. It's only deception based in the context of when it happens.
Right.
So the in-person trainings, I mean, absolutely, they're so much better. But behavioral analysis is just not about the interviewing techniques, right? It's the knowledge of knowing what people are truly thinking and feeling without even asking them. You just throw out a stimulus.
Right. So would you say now, like the bulk of your business, what you're doing is going around training people how to do this? Or do
Yeah,
you
so I do a
actually,
lot of police trainings, a
or
lot
do
of
you get,
PI trainings across the country. I've trained in, I don't know, probably 10, 15 state organizations. Some of
Right.
them have been webinars. I've trained for NCISS. I've trained for, I shouldn't have started because I can't remember
There you
all the
go.
acronyms. But probably 10 different state agency associations for PIs.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of police trainings all around the country, and a lot of insurance conferences. So I train special investigative units for insurance companies, insurance adjusters, fraud investigators, on reading people's deception or emotion. And again, it's not deception, it's only emotion.
Sure.
And it could be deception based on the context of when they do it.
Do you still get called in to like work on cases, or you're just pretty much doing training now?
So I do get called in for like attorneys. They
Mm-hmm.
have like these depositions, and they want me to take a look at them, and I can break down that deposition. And I write I just recently did one in Wisconsin, where a man was accused of having sex with his stepdaughter twice a week for a year, and I was asked to take that stepdaughter's video deposition and break it down. So I wrote a 25-page report on it, and then I have a PowerPoint which walks you through step by step, slow motion video, zoomed in, still shots of the micro expressions when she's saying something, what her feelings are when she's saying something.
Right. So, are you banned from Las Vegas? Playing poker?
I actually tried to get into Las Vegas. I'll tell you, those casinos are pretty tight.
Yeah.
I
I
think
would
I'm
say
going to go
somebody
out
would
there and
hear.
just actually face to face talk to someone and say, hey, look, how do I get into this? Because
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time on the phone with people from Las Vegas,
Yeah.
and just getting to run around. I'm trying to get into the casino industry. I mean, this would be golden for them.
Yeah.
Watch people's behaviors as soon as they walk in and they see a security guard, right? If they're doing something wrong, they're going to have a reaction. Their body language is going to change. So
Yeah.
watching those kinds of things for the people who are coming in there to do things that they're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There are definitely a bunch of different verticals that you could put this to. It's not just, the legal process, but it just kind of gives you leverage on how you're handling certain situations. I mean, you can definitely see the payoff on that.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, I would say, for the sex assault cases. And there's a good deal of that litigation going on now. You have all these different states that have opened up statutes to go back and now try and advocate for victims. And you're seeing sex trafficking also.
Yep.
I'm sure this skill set falls right in line with that type of work as well, right? So yeah, I mean, it's a definitely different verticals and different things that you can go ahead and do. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to just keep drilling down on this and talk a little bit further. Maybe some things that have surprised you over the years of the way things have changed since you started doing that. So, everybody sit tight, and we will be right back.
Check out the PI Institute of Education at piinstitute.com Since 1989, Kelly Riddle has been teaching on subjects such as surveillance, nursing home investigations, insurance fraud, domestic investigations, hidden assets, and accident scene investigations. The PI Institute of Education is a featured learning partner in the investigatorstoolbox.com. So check out the free content on the site, then visit the Institute for more great savings on additional classes. Managing a team of investigators just got easier with TrackOps, the all-in-one case management software. Are you ready to enhance case flows and drive efficiency? TrackOps offers powerful management and coordination tools to streamline workflows and communication, all designed to keep your team synchronized and focused on the task at hand. With TrackOps, you can easily distribute workloads, track individual performance, and ensure deadlines are met. Plus, the TrackOps mobile app allows investigators to access case activities on the go. And the TrackOps video app allows for simple and consistent timestamping, all included at no extra cost. Start streamlining your investigation process today. Visit trackops.com for a free 15-day trial and experience the power of efficient team management. TrackOps, empowering teams, simplifying management. Over the past year, our industry has been the target of foreign governments and agencies that have attempted to recruit unsuspecting investigators to gather intelligence or immediate expatriates. PI Perspectives is teaming up with the Federal Bureau of Investigations to get the word out about this ongoing crisis. If you've been contacted by an individual or company that might seem suspicious, please contact the FBI at tips.fbi.gov. You can also contact the New York field office at 212-384-1000 to report suspicious activity in any state. The link is also in the show notes. Even if you completed a job and it still doesn't sit right with you, you can report this activity. The only way to stop this trend is to work together. So let's do it. Want to learn with some of the best legal investigative minds and make great networking connections? The National Association of Legal Investigators is having its annual conference on June 12th and 13th in Arvada, Colorado. There's a great lineup of investigators and lawyers booked to speak. Visit nally.com to learn more about this great event. You don't want to miss the new speakers and topics. That's Nally, NALI.com.
And welcome back to PI Perspectives. This is Matt Spaier, your host. Today we have Bruce Jacobs, a 30-year retired veteran and a behavioral analysis expert.
Yep.
He's a veteran of law enforcement, and he's also he works with ICAC. It's ICAC, the Internet Crimes Against Children. So, Bruce, welcome back to the program. Why don't you tell folks a little bit about what that association does?
So I've done a lot of work with ICAC. I haven't done it for the last couple of years of my career, but there's just some good things about police departments, working at and getting these guys. I'll never forget one of the guys that I had travel probably 2 miles, left his 16 and 17-year-old daughter at home to come and have sex with me, thinking I was a 13-year-old homeschool girl.
Wow.
And I can't tell you the look of disappointment when he got out of his truck and I got out instead of this 13-year-old girl. But behavioral analysis works a lot in some of the things that I used in that case. Obviously, I never saw him. I saw pictures of him before I actually saw him in person. But it's the words. It's one of the 5 channels of communication. We can go over the 5 channels if you'd like.
Yeah, I think let's dig into that. Let's
Okay.
talk about the different channels, because I'm sure it's a lot to take in, and I'm sure you could probably talk for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to drill it down to about 30 minutes here. So why don't you jump into the 5 channels here?
Okay. So it's important to remember that these are driven by your limbic brain, your survival brain, your fight, flight, or freeze. When you have a limbic brain response, you have a fight, flight, or freeze response. Okay. So the first channel of communication is microexpressions. Dr. Paul Ekman actually moved to the jungles of New Guinea and studied those tribes because they had no outside contact with anybody. They never saw magazine, TV articles, or TV commercials. And he was able to scientifically prove that we as humans have 7 universal facial expressions. They're the same no matter what culture you're from. You can live in China, you can live in the United States, or the jungles of New Guinea. You're going to have the same 7 universal facial expressions. Blind people do these. Infants do them. Okay, they're in our DNA. So you have happy. Now, my daughters always say, Dad, you got a fake smile. They're like, smile. And I'm like, right. So just like most other guys, we don't smile. It's not a true smile. A true smile is everything engaged. And you'll hear me talk about being synchronized and symmetrical, right? Synchronized and symmetrical. So it has to be synchronized to the stimulus, to the picture, the question, the song, the smell, the police officer standing there, the guy standing in the casino doing security. If I'm doing something wrong, that is the stimulus. And it has to be synchronized to that, right? And it has to be symmetrical across your face, except for one difference. I'm going to show you a single, the only asymmetrical expression that we don't, that we do, and we don't do it on purpose. And most people don't even know they're doing it. So it's the smile. It's got to be synchronized across my face, symmetrical. All the muscles in my face have to be reacting. So what might cause that to change? Botox, right? Or a stroke where somebody's face doesn't. But those are extreme cases for the most part. So you got happy. Corners of the mouth up, eyebrows up, tension across the face as you're smiling. Then you have sad. Classic sad is eyebrows furrowed down on the outside, tension in between the eyes, and then corners of the mouth down. And again, tension across the face. Then we have contempt. Contempt is the only single-sided, non-symmetrical facial expression that we make, and we don't do it on purpose. Some people call it a smirk. Okay, it's an asymmetrical smile. They bring one corner of their mouth up. It means social superiority. They're proud of it. Then we have fear and surprise. I talk about both of those because sometimes they get mixed up. So fear is like a deer in the headlights. So your mouth will open up a little bit,
right,
and your eyes open up a little bit wider than baseline. Your eyebrows come up wider than baseline, and you have tension across your face. Then you have surprise, which is your eyes could really come open. Okay, your mouth opens up. And then the last two are anger and disgust. Now I put those next to each other because sometimes they get mixed up. So anger, let's just talk about disgust, right? Disgust is you pull the corners of your nose up, and then you have tension across your face. Disgust is the face you make when you hear a bad joke or you smell poop, right? If you ever open up your kid's diaper or your grandkid's diaper, I guarantee you, you've had a disgust look on your face. Okay? And then the last one is anger. Anger could be, but anger's eyebrows down in the middle, right? They're pointed down in the middle, tension across the face, but it can be pressed lips, right? People press their lips. Sometimes their mouth is gritting their teeth, or sometimes their mouth is open. So that's it. Those are the 7 universal facial expressions. You have happy, sad, contempt. You have fear and surprise, and anger and disgust.
Right.
So watching for those things because they're quick, right? They're a fifth of a second. So that's the first channel. The second channel we have is body gestures. Now, I'm not just talking body language. I'm talking everything. When somebody's talking to you, are they nodding their head? Yes. Are they tilting their head to the side? Okay, these all mean things. Are their shoulders symmetrical or asymmetrical? Do they reach across and touch the other arm? Or they reach across and grab the other arm? Are they rubbing their hands? Do they reach up and just pull on their shirt a little bit? Those are great indicators.
You're making me very self-conscious here.
Your limbic brain has a vested interest in protecting your organs.
Yeah.
So when you feel threatened, you want to cross your arms because body blocking, torso blocking, right? Or some people just take I know you've seen it, they'll take their sport coat and just pull their sport coat up. That is a sign of blocking. It's a limbic response telling me or you that they feel threatened about what you're talking about.
Right.
And we talk about legs, right? And also your hands and your thumbs are very important. And then your legs, right? Your feet, your toes. Watching people's feet is amazing. I'll be at these conferences and these people will come up to me and I've got my computer and I put a little screen behind me and I shoot a 12 by 12 video and I'll say, what did you see? It's like 6 seconds long. And they end up staying there for 15 minutes. So sometimes we'll get up and we'll stand in the aisle and we'll look at the people down the aisle. It's like, what do you think's going on down there? And I could say, well, this is what's happening because of this, this, and this. And at one time I go, you watch that girl's foot. I said, she is going to start rolling her ankle. And she did, like literally 6 seconds later, she started rolling her ankle. Well, the guy's like, how did you know that? So that's one thing about body language is you're predicting behavior based on behavior.
Right.
Okay. It's like crime prevention through behavioral analysis.
Wow.
So then the third channel, we have micro expressions, we have body gestures. The third channel is your voice. So it's the pitch, the tone, the volume, the inflection, and the flow. 5 components to it. Pitch, tone, volume, inflection, and flow. So when I talk to people, I get a baseline voice of about, between 1 and 5, 3 being their baseline. As I'm talking to them, if they go up a little bit or they go up, right? I can document that. I can articulate that. And I'm thinking to myself, why are they yelling at me? Why are they trying to convince me of this?
Right.
Or it's classic when people start talking and their voice goes down really low. You can't hear what they're saying, right? And people just don't understand what's happening. Well, they're doing that on purpose because it's easier to lie if you whisper, right? You're distancing yourself from that lie.
Right.
So then you have your pitch. People all of a sudden be going, I don't know what you're talking about, right? Their pitch will go up. The other one is the flow. Well, let's just say, for instance, you asked me, Bruce, what did you do yesterday? And I would say something like this. Well, I was sitting on the couch watching a basketball game. I walked in the kitchen. I walked over by the refrigerator. I grabbed a Pepsi. I came back and sat on the couch. I didn't leave my place all night. Did you catch anything, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't ask if he left the house at all. I mean, he's
okay. So I'm giving you
establishing an
extra
alibi.
information.
He's given an alibi without you asking for one.
Okay,
Essentially, right?
But something you just did right now, you're not really sure about that answer.
Yeah, because my body language.
Yeah,
I hate
you
this
did an
interview.
asymmetrical shoulder shrug, which
I
means
hate
you're
it.
not really sure. So instead of going both shoulders up, you went like this.
Why did I do this video?
Analysis. So I gave you a clue that when I walked in the kitchen, something happened. Because that's the only time my flow changed. I said I was sitting on the couch watching the basketball game. I walked in the kitchen. I walked over by the refrigerator, right? The and So here's the key to this. I tell my story with all my knowledge. So do you. I can't unknow what I don't want you to know. It's in there. And my brain has to edit that out because I can't tell you. So I have a pause and things change. Okay, it's classic. So I told you something happened when I walked in the kitchen. As you as an investigator should pick up on that and say, okay, let's go. You're walking in the kitchen. What happens right then? And then I might go, well, I stepped on the cat, right? Or I could have said, well, nothing. Why do you ask me? Well, then you know that I'm not being truthful with you because the editing portion of my brain had to edit over something that happened.
Right.
And then the last part of the voice we have is inflection. They call it the question inflection, right? What'd you do yesterday, Bruce? I was walking the dog, right? Did you hear the question? I was walking the dog instead of I was walking the dog.
Right.
So that's the voice. So we have micro expressions, body gestures, the voice. Then we also have the physical changes that happen to you. So your limbic brain controls your emotions. When you're in trouble and you're lying or something really bad happens, your limbic brain shuts down your digestive system. And if it's really bad, what do people do? They throw up. That is a limbic brain response. It also, when it shuts down your digestive system, it shuts down your saliva glands, gives you dry mouth. Most of the ancient lie detector tests are based on lack of saliva.
Wow.
Thousands of years ago, they would be talking to people and questioning them about stealing a goat or whatever it was, and they would be heating up a metal spoon in the fire. And they were done talking. When they were done talking, the people would put the metal tongue, the red hot metal spoon on the person's tongue. Think about it. If they have saliva in their mouth because they're not lying, it's going to insulate it and you're not burnt and it makes you a truth teller. If it burns your tongue, you're a liar. The limbic brain also controls your blood pressure and your breathing rate. So people will be talking and all at once they'll go. And then I walked into the kitchen and I walked over and got something from the refrigerator, so their breathing rate will change. Or the blood in their face, you'll see their face go pitch white because the blood gets pumped out of their face because the limbic brain is pumping it into the larger organs, getting it ready to run or fight.
Wow.
So the physical changes that happen to you, you've made all of a sudden, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but I have, it's people's jugular, their jugular is just popping in their neck. It tells you that you've caused all kinds of emotional stress in them, which you shouldn't have done. There's a reason why that's happening. And then the last channel we have is the people's words. So what I train in is scientific content analysis by Avinoam Sapir out of Israel. I have the FBI handbook for content analysis, statement analysis, and his research is in there all over the place. He's a world-renowned man, scary man, as far as listening to what people are saying and what it really means. So if I would say to you, and I use this in police trainings a lot, you are an officer, you're a private detective, you're an investigator, and you're investigating, let's just say a sexual assault. Okay, we can put any scenario in there. Let's just say a sexual assault. And the first woman says, we went into the bedroom and we had sex without my permission. The second woman says, we went into the bedroom and he had sex with me without my permission. Which one's true and why? Any guesses? I gave you a couple clues.
You got me gun shy now.
Okay. So the first one, you have to understand that we is a partnership.
Right.
As soon as the word we comes out, it's a partnership, right? We started fighting. He started fighting with me, right? We's a partnership. So the first woman says, we went into the bedroom. It tells me that it was mutual. They both went into the bedroom, right? And we had sex without my permission. We's a partnership. The second woman says, we went into the bedroom, which tells me they both went in willingly, and he had sex with me. So with his distance. And I also gave an indicator because I went like this. I don't know if you noticed that. So I was touching my neck when I was saying it, which is a limbic response. It's called a pacifier because I want to run and I want to fight, but I can't. So people will just reach up and they'll touch their face as they're talking to you. Okay? A face touch is much different than the end of a nose touch, though. I don't know if we're going to get into that, but so these are words, right?
Yeah.
So I was taking a simple accident, and I said to the lady, she was driving in a parking lot, and somebody backed into her. So I said, "Tell me what happened." Right? With the accident. This is exactly what she said. I was driving with my daughter, and she wanted to go to the mall. I pulled into the parking lot, and the guy backed into me. It's a wealth of information. See, in the editing portion of our brain, we will start where the incident started for us. That's why you should never tell someone where to start.
Right.
So what did she say with this, right? Tell me what happened. She said, I was driving with my daughter. So think about that sentence. She starts off with I, so she's connected to it. If the I's not there, they're not there. And pronouns are very, very important. She goes, I was driving with this distance. It tells me that there was some conflict, right? And then she says, my daughter, possessive pronoun. So she's her daughter, but there was some conflict in. And then she says, and she wanted to go to the mall. So this mom, in her mind, that's what caused the accident.
Right.
So she had to tell me that, right? I just said, tell me what happened. She could have said, the guy backed into me. No, but she has to go back and talk about what, in the editing process of her brain, what really caused the accident.
Huh. That's really interesting. And I bet you just talking that through, she probably didn't even want to go to the mall.
No, the mom didn't want to go to the mall. That was very obvious.
Else.
It was the daughter that wanted to go to the mall because she was driving. I was driving with my daughter.
Right.
So people tell us so much stuff. We have to look under the surface for what the words mean in the context of when they mean.
So I got a question for you, man.
Yeah.
How do you turn this off? How when you're off duty, how do you analyze people when you're talking to them?
So I'm sure that I don't. Right. The simple answer is I don't turn it off.
Right.
But it's second nature. I mean, Matt, I'm sure you notice things that I would never notice. Right. I have a friend. We go into a building and he's like, oh, that's this type of camera and it's hooked up to this type of router and this type of server. And I'm like, oh, okay. Right. But when I'm doing these trainings, I have micro expressions.
Sure.
Right. So I was doing a police training last week, and I was talking about body language, right? And they did a study on why cop killers who are in prison, police officers, people who are killed police officers, why'd they kill them? And when I said that, I went and I did what's called a tongue jet. It's my emotions saying I didn't like the taste in my mouth of what I just said about police officers being killed. And I looked at everybody and I go, did you guys see that? And they're like, what? I go, never mind. So we all have micro expressions. I know what they are. I feel them, but I can't stop them.
Yeah, that's
so you can't turn it off.
Your kids
but
must.
I don't call people on it. Like if you and I were having this conversation and I saw your shoulder jump up like that,
right.
I would have never said anything.
Yeah.
I would have just known that he doesn't know what he's talking about. Right. No, I don't need. That was wrong. He doesn't have any confidence in what he's saying. I don't
have any confidence in my answer. Yeah.
Right. So you're trying. It wasn't deception. Right. I asked you to guess. You were guessing, but you didn't know. So your single-sided shoulder came up.
Interesting.
Right? A single-sided shoulder shrug. So not deception. It's a perfect example of it. It's not deception. It's emotion. And you're telling me you're guessing. You don't really know.
Yeah.
But if the person says, you say to the person, did you take this money? Were you at the scene? Did you have anything to do with this crime? And they go, no. And that shoulder comes up, they have no confidence in what they're telling you. So that's a great clue for us.
So how did the jurors handle this stuff? Like when you lay the foundation on that, because yeah, I mean, obviously you've got 30 years worth of experience, you've got the pedigree and all that, but you still have to make that connection real for them, right? So yeah, when that shoulder goes up, it means, hey, something's fishy. Like, do you find it difficult to sell them on that idea or
The
not
jury
really?
you're talking about?
Yeah.
So I've never gotten to the jury trial. I have testified as an expert in court,
Hmm.
but it never got to the jury trial. So a lot of this stuff is investigation, right? And I can break it down and show the jury. I would need 15 minutes before I even started showing them stuff to give them a little bit of education about what this stuff is, give them the scientific studies that show it, give them the case law that shows this stuff, and then work it from there.
Yeah,
So
that's
very seldom people. This is more of investigation, everyday living than the jury. And you can absolutely use it for the jury, but you'd have to find a court that would allow it in.
right. That was my next question.
Yeah,
So
because in Wisconsin, we can't have polygraph tests or lie detectors, if people call them, but they're polygraphs. They're not admissible in court. Do we still do them? Yeah, yeah. We have my department had a voice stress analyzer, right? It's the same thing as a polygraph. It measures your voice, which is one of our communication channels,
right.
but it's not allowed in court. It shows you, hey, is this guy really telling the truth, or do we need to investigate him more?
I feel like they're threads, right? So if you're basically equipping whoever you're working for with some additional information, right? So if it seems like that particular thing they're talking about may be
Mhm.
deceptive, like drill down on that and see if you
Exactly.
can develop any more intelligence out of that and kind of figure out what happened, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because sometimes you uncover information that you never even knew was there,
Right.
right? So if I would say something and then I'm talking about this stuff, and then I go, was Mr. Jones, was he your neighbor? And all of a sudden he comes up by his neck, or he touches his face, or he rubs his leg. I have to recognize that he had an emotional reaction to Mr. Jones. There's something
Right.
that I need to drill down on and find out why that was so sensitive to him. Because again, it's about emotion.
Right. So you had talked about polygraphs, and I had a gentleman on probably about 2 years ago that had it was measuring the pupils, the reaction of
Yeah.
the pupils. It was like the new lie detecting
Mhm.
technology that was out there. What are your feelings on all that stuff? Is that something that is useful in what you do as kind of like an add-on or confirmation, or is it completely different?
So here's the thing about voice stress analyzers and polygraphs and pupil measures. There is some research, a lot of research done on the pupil. Like when a baby listens to its mother's voice, the pupil will dilate. And they say that when you lie, the pupil will constrict. Well, I am not good enough to be able to see everybody's pupil. And I
Right.
couldn't testify in court, and I couldn't, with good conscience, say, hey, I think his pupil dilated, a third of a millimeter or whatever it is.
Right.
The behavioral analysis, you don't need any equipment, right? You just need your eyes and your ears and your mouth to ask the question or to show
Right.
them the picture or whatever you're doing. Those other things are good, but you need equipment to do them. The thing with behavioral analysis is just you. Anytime it's live, right? All the time. I can't tell you how many times when I was running my business where I would ask one of my employees a question, and what came out of their mouth is not what their body was saying. I didn't call them on it. I just knew that they weren't being truthful with me.
Right.
I didn't
Yeah.
need to, hook something up. But yeah, there is research with the pupils. But you need that technology. You need the technology with the voice stress analyzer, and you need a polygraph.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, and technology is always changing. I guess 5 years from now there'll probably be something out there that that nobody has seen or thought of
Yeah.
or whatever. It's crazy.
There's actually some AI
Right. That's
things
the
out
next.
there, and I've worked with a couple of those companies.
Yep.
But the problem with the AI is that they feed videos to this AI that learns from them, right? And they learn the micro expressions or the body gestures, and it's literally from the shoulders up.
Right.
And they're this is deception, right? But like the contempt or your asymmetrical shoulder shrug, okay, that may flag it as a lie when really you really don't know. So to give you a perfect example, my neighbor comes up to me last year and says, "Hey, Bruce, I know this. You've got to teach me this stuff. I know this woman at the office is lying to me." I go, "Okay, Bob, here's an easy one for you." I go, "What does this mean?" And I did my shoulders, right? Shoulder shrug. He goes, "It means I don't know." I go, "Right." I go, "What does this mean?" And I did hand shrug. I brought my hands up. He goes, "It means I don't know." I go, "Right." "And what does this mean?" And I did a mouth shrug. So people will do that and it's synchronized. They'll go, "I don't know." Their shoulders, their hands, and their mouth will all be synchronized. And it means, I don't know. So when I did my mouth, he goes, "Maybe." I said, "Bob, that was beautiful." So what did he do? His tone, his pitch changed, right? He used maybe because he wasn't sure and he had an asymmetrical shoulder shrug,
Right.
which means he has no confidence in what he just said.
Exactly.
He's not lying. It's
Yeah.
emotion.
Yeah. There
So
you go.
these behaviors, we all have them. They are universal. Okay. Now, some of the culturals will change, and some things that will change that will challenge behavioral analysis. First of all, drugs and alcohol.
Right.
Okay. Secondly, English as a second language for the verbal part, right? Because if you have people using inappropriate tense, but English is not their first language. I was talking to a guy and he goes, "I retired from the Coast Guard in 2010 instead of retired,"
Right.
right? But English wasn't his first language. So that doesn't mean anything. He's just not versed in that. So you got alcohol, drugs and alcohol that will affect it. You have English as a second language. And also if people are on the spectrum, right? They'll have tics depending on how far in the spectrum they are. These
Right.
tics aren't deception. So
Right.
you can't just go and look at one thing and say, "Oh, he did this then." Well, he did that the last 10 times too. It doesn't mean anything. It's his
Yeah.
baseline.
Yeah.
And we
That's,
haven't really talked about baseline yet, but it's all about baseline.
yeah. I feel like that's another program, another show.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is fascinating, man. You're messing me up because I'm looking at myself in the camera to see like what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't want this guy to think like I'm a boob or I'm bored or
No,
whatever.
no, don't worry about
it,
that. I mean, it's
it's
just human behavior and it's
yeah,
fascinating,
yeah,
and the good
yeah,
thing is that it's live. It's happening all the time.
yeah,
I can't tell you how many times where I say something and the person answers me back and I'm thinking to myself, "Nope." I
yeah.
just move on because I know that what their true feelings are.
Wow, wow, man, it's like kryptonite
Yeah.
for somebody. All right. Oh man, I look back too, and I'm always like analyzing when I go back and I watch like the programs that I record. Um, I'll I'll look for like facial expressions that I make. I'm always like trying to be very aware of that. I notice sometimes like when I'm asking a question, my eyes will go like from side to side, and I tell myself like, "Don't do that, stupid."
You know why that is?
I'm probably not prepared for the interview.
No, no. So movement back and forth, even with the eyes,
Yeah,
over to the eyes is constructing sounds.
really. Okay.
So there's a lot of questions you can ask to get baseline eye movements before the interview even starts, right? Because you want a baseline yes and you want a baseline no. So you
Right.
ask them questions that they clearly have to say yes or no to. And then you ask them a question, you'll ask them another question that they want to say yes to, and they go, yes. And then their head goes diagonally. So
Yeah.
we look for consistencies and inconsistencies in their
Fast.
behaviors. So we
Fast.
know yes is straight up and down. We know no is straight back and forth. But when they say yes again, it comes diagonally. That's a conflict between their cognitive thinking of, "I have to lie," and their emotional feelings of, "I'm not supposed to lie," because our brains are wired not to lie. Now,
Right.
some people will go like, "Well, what if the person enjoys this?" Right? What if he's a maniac or a schizophrenic or something? Yep, yep, psychopath. It still works because they still have emotions.
Right.
It's the wrong emotion, but they still have it. So if I ask about this murder, if I show a picture of a dead person and the person has a contempt on their face, what does that tell me? Wow, he's proud of that. He likes it.
Right.
Versus you or I would have the disgust look on their face, right? Or we may be angry.
I feel like they needed you for Usual Suspects, man, with Kaiser Soze. That movie would have been 5 minutes long.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
it
I mean,
definitely.
like I said, when I saw that first micro expression presentation, it changed my life. I
Yeah.
was so
Yeah.
so sold on this, and it has solved a lot of cases, or led
That's
people in the
amazing.
right direction on a lot of cases.
Right. Yeah, that's nuts. I see like in myself when I'm doing that eye movement, a lot of times it's like I'm asking a question, but I'm still formulating the question. And
Mhm.
as an interviewer, somebody who does this for entertainment purposes or whatever, just to try and bring information in, I don't like to have scripted questions because I feel like organically you want to turn and go in different directions. So a
Right.
lot of times when I'm doing that, I'm formulating a question. I may actually be formulating my next question as
Mhm.
I'm listening to you as well. And I wonder how
Right.
that plays off. Like, oh, this guy's so pompous. He's not even paying attention to me.
No,
And
no, that's the right
yeah,
way to do it. Because I tell
it's
people
weird.
when they do interviews, police officers, private investigators, SIU unit, a lot of people will have a list of questions, right? And they're
Yeah.
more focused on that list of questions and looking at the list of questions
Right.
than
Right.
watching the person in front of you. So you come in with your
Exactly.
baseline questions, right? And then you say, "Tell me what happened," and then they're going to the editing part of their brain is going to start where the incident started for them. Okay. And then
That's
they
exactly
will
true. Yeah.
dictate on where the interview goes because they may talk about something that you had no idea about. And that's the editing process. If they bring it in, it's called extraneous information, right? If it's important for enough for them to add it into the story, it's
Right.
important to them and it should be doubly important to us.
Right. Right. I'm not
So
a suspect, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, it was here,
yeah.
but I'm not a suspect.
Or a connection that they don't want anybody
Right.
to know about, but they
Yeah.
just told you about it because it's in their brain and it slipped out. Okay,
So
verbal slips, Freudian slips, I mean,
right.
it's true emotion.
One of the
So
things I've noticed over my years of interviewing, and most of the interviewing that I've done is all related around personal injury cases, right? A witness to a car accident, a witness to a slip and fall, a witness to something happening, right? And it's usually not criminal related.
right.
But I feel like the ones that want to cooperate, that are willing to talk to you, are
Mhm.
always trying to insert themselves somewhere in the narrative to like be a part of it.
Yeah.
Like I find folks that if they're willing to participate, they feel strongly about it, but they also want to put themselves into the story of what took place. And I've always was fascinated by that. That it's such like a cool way to get their perspective and how they're weaving themselves into what happened
Mhm.
of being there. Right.
Some of that's ego, the
Yeah.
human ego, just wanting to be involved in it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got a couple minutes yet?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Keep going. Yeah.
So here's a good example of the editing process of the brain. We all know about Jussie Smollett, right? Robin
Mhm.
Roberts is interviewing him. And she asked a great question, but she limited it in the question. She said, "What happened that night, Jussie?" So that incident that happened didn't start that night, right? That was planned a week, 2 weeks ago, whatever.
Right.
She should have said, "Tell me what happened." But she said, "Tell me what happened that night." And this is what Smollett said, almost word for word. He said, "When I landed in Chicago that night, and my uncle Frank Gaston, who's also my creative director, he picked me up. We got back to the apartment, there was no food. So I decided to go out and get something to eat. I decided to go to Walgreens thinking they were open 24 hours. Okay. So let's think about those words that he just used. The editing process is a brain. So if I land in Chicago, I deplane, I get my luggage, I get picked up from wherever I'm getting picked up from, I drive across Chicago and I get to my apartment. How much time are we talking? 2 hours, maybe? Right?
Yeah.
At a
Easy.
minimum, hour and a half,
Easy.
2 hours.
Yeah.
So he had to say that, even though it had nothing to do with the incident, or did it? Because that is where the incident started in his mind that night. What happened when he got to what happened when he landed? He called the brothers and said, "Hey, I'm here. I'll be there at this time." That is when the incident started. And he told us that in his editing process of his brain that he had to start when he landed. Otherwise, he
Mm.
had no reason. It has nothing to do with it. Just like the woman, where did the accident? What happened? I was driving with my daughter and she wanted to go to the mall. This is miles away. Had nothing to do with the accident, but in her brain, it did. So we listen to what people say.
It's amazing. It's amazing. This is probably a good point to put a bow on this because I'm sure we can just keep going. I know there's other stuff you want to talk about, but I definitely would like to have you on again to
Yeah.
talk about this because this is like now you've piqued my interest here, and I'm not going to look at people the same.
No, you
So,
won't. So if you go on
uh,
YouTube, I have a YouTube channel. If you go on YouTube and look up Leaking the Truth channel,
mhm,
I've got a bunch of videos on there. They're short, maybe 3 to 6 minutes, but they're great little videos that just point out different things, consistencies and inconsistencies. It'll get you kind of rolling with it.
sure.
Um,
We'll put a
if
link
you
in
are
the show
interested
notes.
in training,
Yeah.
reach out to me
Hmm.
and You know, I travel all over the country, or I may be doing trainings near you. Unfortunately, I don't keep up my website with my trainings because it's just me. I'm a one-man show.
Sure. Yeah.
So please contact me. It's leakingthetruth.com. My email is bruce@leakingthetruth.com. My YouTube channel is Leaking the Truth. I'm also writing a book. Guess what its name is? It's Leaking the Truth.
I was going to say that, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to shrug my shoulder and
No,
get
I
yelled
just
at
saw
for
that at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like when you're interviewing me, if I get like a joke in my head, a thought, you could see me smile beforehand. Like I got, you see the smirk. Like he's got something to say. You know, let's see if he can land it. You know?
The smirk or the contempt is different than the smile. Remember, contempt is asymmetrical. The
Right.
smile is symmetrical.
Right.
Smile is you're happy about it. So if I'm interviewing you something and I say something like, "Hey, right now the police department is searching this house over here," and you may have a micro expression of a smile, just a brief fifth of a second, corners of the mouth come up. That tells me that you're happy about it, right? Or if I show you something and I'll go, "We're looking for the person that did this," and you have the asymmetrical, that means you're proud of it.
Right.
Right.
It's fascinating, mind-blowing stuff. So
it is. It's human behavior.
I want to say thank you to Tina Thomas also for connecting us. She's been after me for a couple of years. Like, you got to talk to Bruce. You got to talk to Bruce. You got to talk to Bruce. So if Tina, if you're listening, thank you for I'm making the connection. I think sometimes it's all about timing, but I'm so happy to have you on and talk about this stuff. I feel like you could probably do another hour, but we're gonna cut it right here and keep. So thank you for coming on. I look forward to having you on again at some point. And thank you everyone for tuning into this. Again, go check out the Leaking the Truth. We're gonna have links in the show notes to go check it out. So thanks everyone, and we'll catch you on the next show. Take care.
All right. God bless.
This was a great episode. Thankfully, you can only hear me and not see me. Seriously though, great pieces of advice, and we thank Bruce for sharing them. We also want to thank 4 Pillars Insurance Research for sponsoring the show. Additional thanks to Scope Now, IRB, TrackOps, and the PI Institute for Education for sponsoring our podcast. And don't forget about the investigatorstoolbox.com, where you can type in Perspectives 50 to save $50 when you join up. Please follow Matt and Satellite Investigations on LinkedIn. And if you have a question or a comment about the show, email Matt at matthews@satellitepi.com. You can also find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. We'd like your feedback to bring you the best shows possible. And we'll be back next week with a new show. So make sure you tune in and stay safe out there.